Hi, my name's Julie Baird. I'm director at Newcastle Museum. Just before the museum had to close because of the COVID pandemic, we opened an exhibition called Cultural Resurgence. It's a beautiful, beautiful show and locally made. It contains both weaving and possum skin cloaks. We really wanted as many people as possible to see this work curated by Speaking in Colour.
Hi, my name's Cherie Johnson and I'm a proud Gomeroi woman. My family come from the Beemunnel in Warren and we have connections to Wildwood country. My mother is Dawn Conlon and my grandmother is Rachel Darcy. My great-grandmother is Charlotte Wright. We come from a strong line of beautiful women and I'm really proud and honoured to be a part of my family. We are presenting here the Cultural Resurgence Aboriginal Art Exhibition. We have a feature of possum and weaving, and today we're going to be talking about weaving.
So, Cherie, what is Speaking in Colour?
Speaking in Colour is an Aboriginal education company. We started when my children were little, and I started to write education kits for Newcastle Lake Macquarie art galleries, and wanting to create educational resources that were easily accessible for teachers, linked to local understandings and pedagogies and things. So we looked at exhibitions and we wrote pre and post content, and then from there it's evolved. So in 2016 we became a company, and since then have received NESA endorsement, so we provide a lot of training for educators. We've also gone into the corporate space now and provide training in cultural capacity training. So we do a lot of case studies, we do a lot of problem solving around key particular areas that they're wanting to explore, and we provide resources as well. So we've created a suite of resources and are continuing to make more resources. And then all of this funds our social impact programs, which is our community-based programs.
Weaving is a significant part in the Cultural Resurgence exhibition. Why is weaving so important in Aboriginal culture?
Weaving is really important to all aspects of life. First and foremost, from my understanding, now I'm not an expert on all Aboriginal things and from all Aboriginal countries as well, but from my understanding, my research and experience, first and foremost, it's about caring for country. So regularly looking after and looking for country. So there was a responsibility of certain reeds would grow along creek beds, and by regularly harvesting them, those reeds do not fall stagnant in water, and even in any tidal, low-lying water. Also, the objects that you would make were practical objects. It would have been a basket to carry something in, it would have been a bowl for something else, it would have been a bag for different things. So it was really practical, really logical. Aboriginal people were extremely logical, so materials that we used were materials that were found on site. This beautiful bag has actually been made by Auntie Daniela, and she's a Nyempa woman. And this is a proper dilly bag made with Kurrajong rope, and there's a piece of stringy bark coming straight through the middle. The actual armband has got Dinawan feathers, emu feathers all through it, and it's been spectacularly made. These bags are actually started at the bottom, and you loop around and around and around, and it actually forms in this kind of way, this manner like this. Each of these loops is actually first made as a piece of rope. First of all, you need to actually strip the bark, you need to soak the bark, you need to dry the bark, you need to spin the bark, you need to turn the bark into rope, and then you weave. And as you're weaving, you run out of rope, you need to add more to the rope, and then you add and you keep going. So this is a really long process, and you can see really beautifully there's actually tinges of colour. So this could be a couple of things. I can't give away all art secrets, but some of it might actually be the dyeing. She uses a lot of resins and barks to do dyeing of her fibres, which means you would put the actual pigment itself in hot water and be able to put the bark in, it absorbs. The other option is sometimes that it's a change of materials or it's a change in the age of the materials. And then you can see the same thing. She's actually created the rope and has the dinner one feathers all the way through it. And she's created what we call like the blanket stitch, the slip knot over the top to hold them all together. So traditionally, everybody would have a dilly bag and then simply wear it over their shoulder. Some would be high, some would be low, different dilly bags for different purposes, because you don't want to put your yams in the same bag as you put your beautiful fruit or your stinky fish. So, beautiful bag. Well, like I said, it all come back to caring for country, understanding. So as the boys would learn how to weave as young children, and they did, the boys wove just as much as girls. They had their belts made out of weaving. They had their bags made out of weaving. They had ropes for whatever men use ropes for, all the different things that you use ropes for. Fishing nets, bird nets. Weaving was a massive part of Aboriginal life, purely because it was a readily available resource, and you would weave with in some of the pieces in the exhibition, we actually have feathers incorporated into the bags. We have different types of barks incorporated into the bark. So it's not just the weaving reeds found near creek beds or low-lying water. It was also other types of grasses and other types of barks.
So is weaving traditionally women's work?
A lot of people think weaving is traditionally women's work. From my understanding, men and women both. The older women would actually teach all of the children until they were of age a lot of different things. Language, ways of being, knowing and doing, and one of those was in particular weaving. So men actually wove just as much as women. Obviously children would create craft to start with. This was the whole left, right, frontal lobe engagement, understanding of the front and back dexterities. And then as children got older, they would make more complex things. They would start to make ropes and fishing nets and bird nets, eel traps, baskets with elaborate handles. This is where people's skill set would actually come out and shine. But everybody had fundamental skills on how to weave.
So what materials are used in the weaving in Cultural Resurgence?
In the exhibition, we've actually chosen to use raffia. Raffia is readily available. It comes from Madagascar. It's actually a palm frond, and it is dried and it is quite soft. So when you weave with it with a needle, it's quite easy for a beginner to learn how to weave. It's really important for me as a teacher to help young people feel confident and capable. And if they use a material that is easy to use and they start with an easy practice, it helps build their confidence and their self-esteem to be able to progress further along in their what it is that they're creating. So with the raffia, it comes in the natural colour, but then we also have other colours that you can get, which are the reds and the greens and the oranges and the blues and whatnot. And we also play in a lot of our programs how to dye our own resources using sometimes tea bags, gum leaves, different barks, different resins, turmeric, onion cells. Yeah, have fun. This particular bag has also been made by Auntie Daniela, and gorgeous. I can actually see the rows of colours. Now, as mentioned before, traditionally everybody would learn how to weave, but certain people would excel, and Auntie Daniela is definitely a master weaver. You would see people's tension and the length and the width of their stitch would determine their kind of signature style. And you can see here Aunt often brings in a strip of other materials around the base, probably about a 13. Here she's actually used a selection of native bird feathers, which was super cute. But you can also see, which I just think is spectacular, the different rings of colour. Now, this could have been a change in materials, but I can tell that this is actually Currajong bark that she's used. So she's actually used different dyeing techniques and pigments. This armband is particularly gorgeous. There are not many people that I know who actually know how to weave this, and this is actually something that I am still learning. I'm in my early 40s now, and I first learnt how to make dilly bags when I was 16, and there's not many people who actually do know how to make dilly bags. These are really, really quite special and particular. So, yeah, this is like level 10 of weaving.
Why are you exhibiting the works at Newcastle Museum?
We decided to exhibit at the Newcastle Museum for a couple of reasons. We always like to exhibit the works that we create with our school groups and our community groups. It's really important for us that people have an opportunity to exhibit their work. Most people don't get an opportunity to exhibit their work ever, and it's really important. As an exhibiting artist, I've always been thrilled. The other thing is people's names are in this catalogue. You know, you might have people who are in year 4 and their name is as an exhibiting artist is in the catalogue. And for me, that's really special. The curator's essay is a little tiny one page because unless you're a curator, you don't usually read those essays. But I really wanted to be able to have a bit of a snapshot for people about the context. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to exhibit at the Newcastle Museum. We have a great relationship with the staff there. They do really good, innovative work, and we knew this would be a great way to extend our partnership even further. We know that it's a place of education. We know it's a place that outreaches to community. It's a welcoming space for younger people, older people, people of all walks. And we wanted to be able to create a free, accessible exhibition, hopefully where people can come and learn a little bit more about Aboriginal people and culture.
I love the possum. It's one of my favourites. Can you tell me a little bit about how the work involved and who the makers were?
The possum is really beautifully made. It was made by Garden Suburbs Public School. It was actually in partnership with Stockland Shopping Centre. They actually funded 6 groups to be able to be a part of the Resurgence program. They actually funded the education kit and some of the materials, which meant it was actually a little bit more cost effective for the schools to be involved. In this particular school, they decided for all of stage 2 and stage 3 to be involved. That is years 3, 4, 5 and 6, which meant every child in all of those classes had an opportunity to participate and to learn and to connect with the Aboriginal teachers. It is part of our request, though, that we give all of the Aboriginal students at the school an opportunity to participate in Aboriginal programs. So in our lunch break, we actually had available for even the kids from year 3, 4, 5 and 6, they could come back, but also the kids who are in the younger years, give them an opportunity to be able to participate in the program. It's really important for us at Speaking Colour that teachers have an opportunity to participate in professional development if they choose to, and that is an option to be able to look at ways that these programs actually meet not only the CAPA outcomes, the creative and performing arts, but how they meet educational outcomes in history, geography and the STEM areas as well, just to name a few.
So is it appropriate for white Australians to learn how to weave in Aboriginal cultural style?
No, it's not inappropriate for non-Aboriginal people to learn Aboriginal weaving. I love the fact that more and more Australians are leaning into and learning about Aboriginal people and culture. This is our national culture. We should be embracing this. Not only does this give us national pride, not only does this give us a national identity, but it's actually really good sense from an economic perspective. Cultural tourism in New Zealand is worth billions of dollars every year. Why isn't it here in Australia that it's worth the same when we have an even just as rich, if not richer, our land mass is even bigger, so we have even more to offer. Is totally appropriate for Australian people to lean in and to appreciate and to learn. And as community, we really encourage that. So I encourage everybody to have a go. If you want to jump online to one of our online weaving classes and have a go, absolutely. We do keep our groups small because we want to connect with you as a person. It's really important that cultural knowledge is taught and received through a relationship, through connection. It's really important. And at the moment, we're all starved for connection, especially all you extroverts out there. This is a great way that we can connect and we can create something new together.